If we're not careful, we're going to run out of them. And I've worked on barns, tore them down, moved them, put them back up. And I just studied old barns, and I used to free span sometimes in threshing bays of the barn. Studied that and applied it with modern technology or modern planking, let's say, and we come up with a king post truss.
And this one has the old wooden pins and the hewn logs. And those will be used for other things.
Yes, we're going to take a post yet and use it for our next king post truss and the next bent over.
Give our farmers an idea. If they'd like to do this to their barn, what kind of cost are we talking about?
$3,000 to $5,000, depends on how much they want to get involved in. They can make their own doors on the end or work right with me. I'm willing to work with anybody.
So perhaps an idea for your old barn. We've been talking with Glenn Harper, Ohio Historical Society, and Lindsey Graham. You may want to be in touch with him. Stay with us now. More Siniger, and along with her son Jay, who is on leave from West Point. We'll get to Jay, but Marge and Fred, great to be here. Tremendous family, 6 children. All 6 received their American Farmer degree in the FFA. Marge, let's identify the children.
Okay, Bill is the oldest. Charles, Cheryl, Kathy, Janet, and Jay.
And as you look back, Fred, over the years, what a record the 6 had in the FFA.
They worked at it.
Now, how many were state officers?
There were 4 state officers.
And 3 star farmers of Ohio.
That's correct.
I'm going to assume that old Dad must have wore the blue and the gold.
You bet.
And Mom and Dad Jay last fall received the honorary American Farmer degree in Kansas City. We have some footage. You were there receiving the honorary American Farmer degree. You, too, had been one of the 4 that was a state officer.
Right.
How important to have been a state officer and being inducted into West Point?
It was a great honor for me to do both. And I think one had a lot to do with the other one. Being a state officer gave me a lot of experience and stuff.
You felt with all the interviews you'd been involved in to make the state officer team, and when you were interviewed for West Point, that helped.
Right. The liaison officers really picked me out, they said, at the interview because I had a lot of experience.
But you got to West Point and they said, you're from all those cornfield high schools.
That's right.
Now, Evergreen's a great high school. How many in your class?
I had about 100 in my class.
And how many began in the class at West Point?
We had 1,300 starting out. We got about 1,000 right now.
Percent of gals?
About 10% female.
First day, and what a day that must be.
Oh, it was terrible, but I'll never forget it. I was scared, intimidated. I didn't know what I was getting into, but it was a good experience. I learned a lot about myself, a lot about other people.
You had to be saying, the farm looks pretty good.
Yeah, I was, believe me.
And you said that once you started to go through the processing, that they had all of you march together by 5:30.
Right. We reported before 10:30, and by 5:30 in the evening, we had our parade. Any free time we had in the day, we were learning how to march.
You're going to be heading back this fall for your 3rd year at the academy, but this summer you've been in Georgia.
Right. The 3rd summer, they send you to do a detail. I spent my summer 5 weeks down in Georgia acting as your drill sergeant.
Why did you make the decision to go to the academy?
I kind of made the decision because I had the freedom to. Dad allowed me, he said, if you ever need to come back, you can come back and we'll take you back in, So I gave it a shot and I said, I'll try it, see what it's like, and if nothing else, I can come back.
Would you have labeled yourself, Jay, as a disciplined kind of person before heading off to the academy?
Yeah, I'd say somewhat, especially living on a farm, working all day long, and that helped out a lot at the academy. A lot of people don't make it because of long hours.
I assume goal-oriented?
Yeah, I'd say so. The FFA had a lot to do with that, too.
So your major area, you can't take any ag courses at West Point?
No, I'm majoring in mechanical engineering. I was thinking about majoring in agriculture before, but they don't have any of those at West Point.
As you look back, the plebe year, that freshman year at West Point, share some of that.
It was long, it was rough, it was completely mental. The long days, just keep driving on. You get up in the morning, about 5 o'clock, and you'd have to do some duties in the morning, and then you'd read the New York Times, be able to talk about 2 minutes on every article on the front page, which, you know, being in the FFA helped a lot with that.
So you feel, even at this point, that the mental strain, the mental stress, more difficult than the discipline and the physical aspects of West Point?
I would say the mental and the discipline kind of go hand in hand, because the discipline was all up in your head, you know, whether or not you could keep with it and keep going on.
I see them buzzing you guys down. Reminds me of when I went into the Navy. What about the gals? How short do they make their hair?
The girls have their hair cut above their collar.
Interesting. I'm going to get back over to Fred. We got to talk about the farm a little bit. How many acres here?
About 1,200.
And we got some beautiful shots of corn and soybeans, and we're here like July the 7th doing the filming. But Bill really now is kind of charge of the farming, Fred?
Yes, he is. Yes, he takes on all the responsibility of the farm.
Now, you guys have fed cattle as long as I've known of the Schenecker family, and how many head did we see up in the feedlot at the other farm?
I think there's about 350 there.
But you're not raising as many cattle or feeding as many cattle as you used to. Why?
Well, the market hasn't been as good lately, and I wanted a little more time on my own, and it's about what Bill can handle himself.
Marge, beautiful home. You built this in, I think, 75. And as you look back, when the kids were here, from a mother's point of view, all 6 receiving the American Farming Degree, your thoughts as you look back?
Well, we're real proud of everybody. We tried to have strict discipline, tried to work with the kids and spend time with the kids, and I feel like it really paid off. This was our main goal in life, I think.
Well, you can be so proud. Now, just a few days ago, before we arrived here, and we got some great shots of this team of mules that this Fred has, but you guys really were on a mule train drive in the South?
Yes, we were. We started in Tellico Plains, Tennessee, and we crossed the Smoky Mountains into North Carolina.
Had to be a beautiful trip.
Oh, it was beautiful. Nothing like I ever saw before.
Before I run out of time, I want to get back to Jay. Again, this fall will be the 3rd year. Is this guy who in sophomore year in high school was saying, I'm going to be a farmer? Are you pleased with yourself that you decided on the academy?
Yeah, I am. I'm really happy there now. It took me a little while to adjust, and it took me a while to make up my mind finally that I was going to stay there.
Why do you like it?
I like it mostly because of the brotherhood. You have a lot of friends, and people are, you know, so much like each other out there. It's really easy to make friends out there.
So, will you make the Army your career?
I don't think so. I'm going to see at the end of my 5-year commitment after West Point, but right now I don't think so. I think I'm probably going to get out and get a job someplace else.
What a family. 6 children received the American Farming Degree in the FFA. And the final guy capped that off by also becoming a cadet at West Point. We've been talking with Fred and Marge and Jay Schenecker here at their farm in Northwest Ohio. Goodness knows farmers are exposed to so much sun. Coming up, how we can prevent skin cancer.
Cases of skin cancer are reported each year. And on this segment of Agri-Country, we're going to take a look at ways to prevent skin cancer with Dr. Ron Siegel of the Arthur G. James Cancer Hospital and Research Institute, located right here in Columbus. Welcome to Agri-Country. Today we want to talk about skin cancer. How big of a problem is this?
Val, skin cancer is, as you may know now, the most common cancer in America, and in fact it's the most rapidly rising cancer in addition to being the most frequent. It's a big problem. 1 out of 6 people will get a skin cancer.
What are the different types of skin cancer?
There are actually about a dozen types, but there are 3 that the layman will commonly hear about. 2 of them come from accumulated sun damage, and that's the basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. They come on the face, and we'll talk some more about that in a few minutes. But the 3rd type, malignant melanoma, tends to come on other body parts, and that's the brown or the black type cancer. It's a much more serious cancer.
How can these various types of skin cancer be detected?
There are warning signs that we've heard about. The American Cancer Society has told us new growth, areas that bleed, a sore that doesn't heal. Those are the common presentations. Most of the time, we'll see things coming on the face when we're talking about the first of those two, the basal and squamous cell carcinoma, and it'll be a new red bump, maybe a firm bump or a scar-like change with no past injury, and eventually they start to bleed or scab and form crusts. Any of those signs in an area that previously had no growth is a warning sign, and it should be investigated.
How would skin cancer be treated?
There are a handful of ways that we treat cancers. It depends on the type, the location on the body, perhaps the needs of the patient, and so on. Most skin cancers can be superficially removed. They can be burnt away or cut away and closed with some stitches. Some require more advanced treatments if they've gone into more advanced stages. What's important is that it be diagnosed early.